Hi, everyone. Here we are again with a chat of a certified conscious capitalist consultant. We have Meike in today from Germany. She was part of the group certified in Europe recently. And Meike, so first of all, let's start. What's conscious business for you?
Well, that's a huge vision, a huge potential. And I've been on it for a couple of years, and it inspires me deeply to be part of that huge transformational process around the world. Yeah.
Amazing. And here's one thing that's very important in what you do as a work for a living. You work with communication. How does communication affect this change to a more conscious business?
The funny thing is that we never not communicate. With each we do communicate. And when I got connected to the 4 principles of conscious capitalism, and we now speak of transforming the businesses into conscious businesses, it was totally clear to me that we need to communicate. That means first we need to inspire people to wake up to the 4 principles. Then we need to talk to them on what does it mean, the 4 principles, what's behind it. And then we need to create more awareness, not just with the leaders, but with the whole team. And so it's all about communicating the ideas, what we need to do, how can we bring this transformation forward. So there's communication in every aspect of conscious business transformation.
Amazing. And the interesting thing when we talk about communication, some people just say, oh, communication, I have to send messages, emails, but communication is much broader than this, right? Communication is a reflection of how you behave. That's a way to communicate, how you listen, how you interact, how you set your protocols of interaction with other with stakeholders, how do you express your purpose. Can you give us a little bit, expand, what are the different elements that when you do some work and helping companies to communicate, what else do you tackle? What else do you go out and say, this is other elements on communication that we have to be careful and watch to?
So there's always the chance to think about, okay, what's just being communicated, but communication is an iceberg. And I talk of communication meaning talking from one person to the other person at the core. It's not mailing and not communicating via website, but really I talk to Thomas. He listens to me, he smiles right now because he is as much inspired as I am about this interview, and that we share inspiring information with a lot of people, hopefully.
One of the things we talked before is empathy and listening, and this is the big part of communication, of creating that space for psychological safety. So can you, give us maybe 3 tips? How do you listen? How do you improve your listening?
So I was just referring to this picture of an iceberg, and that means the water is just above surface. Below surface, there's a huge package of information which is being transported by how we move, how we maybe smile, what we radiate. Are we in a low mood and a low energy? Are we uplifted, and are we sharing that kind of powerful inspiration with others? So there's so much more about information, and empathy means I get the more. Empathy means I can sense, I can feel, I can read the full person opposite me or being with me. So I sense the person from top to toe and really get a sense of, is that person in a good mood? Is that person curious? Or am I talking nonsense to that person and that person doesn't want to go on with what I'm talking about?
So interesting, how do we understand the other side? And that brings us to something that's really important, understanding the level of consciousness of the other. Because if you talk at a very high level, people will not connect with you. So you need to understand where they are so that the communication actually flows. If you talk about purpose and the person is surviving, is struggling to pay their bills, they say, I don't care about purpose. I need to know when my salary is going to be deposited, credited on my account, right?
Yeah, so there's, again, reading that person. Where does the person come from? Very carefully listening. I mean, communication is best about listening. What is the message of the other person? And if I then, again, ask another question, that person will keep on talking and just sharing with me her and his amazing brilliance. So, but from keywords, I can then understand, okay, when we talk about awareness or being conscious, is that being conscious about, I do understand the figures of my company, I can read the numbers, and we are talking on quantity and matter. Or a company being conscious, whoa, they already have a heart open and open-minded, formulated purpose. So I know then, okay, I can maybe try some other wording with them. And the word of consciousness is not that easy, but we can always sense from when do I get their curiosity, when do I get a big smile that they're with me.
Mm-hmm. So you mentioned something. It's amazing because every time you say something, you just connect with more things. You know, just before we talked about levels of consciousness that really connects with Barrett. Now you're talking about listening, about consciousness, about mindfulness, being present, right? I can hear that from what you're saying. Is like, how does mindfulness help you listen?
Mindfulness, it's kind of a funny word because it means your mind is full, actually, if you take it word by word.
Yes.
The better is you are not full in your head and in your mind and in your thinking, but mindfulness would mean empty your mind. Don't have any opinion about the person opposite. Don't think what that person might want to say, want to think, or does mean, but rather observe and listen carefully what the person say. And that's being mindful and attentively observing the other person. And communicating is by, consciously communicating means I'm with the other person and I'm not full with myself.
So interesting, because most of the time when we're talking to somebody, we're preparing our answer. We're preparing the next step as opposed to actually fully listening. And can you share a practice so that if I'm talking to somebody, what should I be doing instead of, how do I train my mind to be fully connected as opposed to preparing my answer or preparing my next step in the conversation? A lot of people just like, you listening to somebody, I'm preparing to respond or to say or to defend or to attack. What technique could you use to try to be more present on what the other person is sharing?
Observe the person. Maybe you observe the eyes and look at the eyes if they're getting big. That means curiosity just pops out at you. Or maybe the person smiles at when the person is sharing something, or is approaching you. That means, again, being lit up about the topic the person is talking about. Or maybe you see the person relax. So there's different ways beyond the wording that you can observe, and you still listen to the words, otherwise you cannot answer to the next question. But it's being present is also being present with what the person is sensing, feeling in the moment sharing.
Love it, because it's like listening, not just only with your ears, listening all the means of communication that's coming out from that person, how their eyes, their face, their body, everything else that actually supports the communication, the idea that person is sharing. So before we close this, how do you work? What how do you work with leaders to make them better leaders and improve communication mostly?
So what we've been talking about now was advanced communication. Listening, being able to listen deeply is the advanced level. Mm-hmm. But in order to get into a good conversation with your team member, as a leader, it's good to open up a trustworthy or appreciative atmosphere to communicate with you. So what we do a lot with leaders is to make them see how they can create this kind of appreciative atmosphere with their team. And that you can do with a set of communication tools that we call appreciative communication. And so you understand these people don't have to hide and don't have to use energy into hiding their position, but they will openly share what they have to share with you. And this is what we want to see in leaders more, that they take responsibility for an appreciative communicating and being with each other. Mm-hmm. Because then really amazing results can come from within each single person, but even more from the team. From the team.
Wow, thank you. This is actually something so amazing, and this might be a topic for the next conversation we have. This appreciative inquiry, appreciative relationship. Whole Foods has a practice that goes from the board level all the way to the shop floor, the store staff. At the end of each session or each meeting, they appreciate each other, the contribution from what they've learned on that day. So I think this is clearly a topic to take it to a next conversation. Thank you so much, Meike, for this quick chat, and hopefully see you again.
Thank you for all your questions and getting them again, hopping from one topic to the next.
Thank you.